Am I the a-hole for asking my mother-in-law to leave our wedding even though she paid for it, after she brought my husband's ex as her plus one? I, 28 female, met my husband, 27 male, 4 years after we divorced someone who everyone in his family calls the love of his life. It's okay. I don't really care if they think that way because my husband has assured me that it's not the case, and that he'd never consider her the love of his life. He told me that they were pretty toxic, and that the relationship grew so bad that the best for both of them was to let go, even when his first wife Mindy didn't believe it. It was pretty hard for me to get accepted into his family, especially for his mother because she was so in love with Mindy and adored her as her daughter-in-law. They were pretty close, and even got depressed after Mindy moved to another state since she didn't want to be near my husband. Time went by and my mother-in-law and I bonded after the traumatic loss of my father-in-law almost 2 years ago. His passing crushed her horribly, but my husband and I tried to be there for her as much as we could since he's their only child. The joy came back to her life after we had our first son, and mother-in-law found a new push to live thanks to him. And even though we didn't become the perfect family, we're close enough to let mother-in-law know that she'll never be alone again. But when the pandemic began, money became tight for us. And after having our baby, my husband and I decided to prioritize our needs. We used what his father left him and some of our savings to buy a house, and decided to have a small celebration after we were legally married. But my mother-in-law said no. She offered to pay for it since she was proud of my husband for doing what was best for our son. At first we said no, because it didn't feel right. But my mother-in-law convinced us, saying that she didn't want to miss the wedding just as her husband did if we ended up taking too long. We made it small and simple because we didn't want to take advantage of her, and we even let my mother-in-law have her way in some decisions. Then when the big day came, she has Mindy by her side, and my husband and I are confused. My mother-in-law approached us and we asked her what was happening. She said that she had invited her to the wedding because it was a special day. My husband said that yes, it was a special day for us, and that Mindy had no business being there, and would appreciate if she left. My mother-in-law looked at me, but I said that I feel the same way. But my mother-in-law got angry, and said that she paid for the wedding and she could invite anyone she wanted. While we both agree, we said that Mindy wasn't really anyone, and that it was the fact that she didn't tell us before, rather than inviting her. Then she said that if Mindy had to go, she'll follow, and my husband said, then do. She ended up saying that she's gonna stay, but that we had to tell Mindy to leave, which my husband gladly did. My mother-in-law spent all the evening mad, and after the wedding, we offered to pay for half of it or even everything if she wanted, but she said that the damage was already done. Now for the top comments. Not day home. I would go no contact with her faster than I could type this comment. Yeah, this just screams narcissistic parenting. This. I suggest you seriously consider if you want to leave your child alone with her. This, interactions about the wedding, give me a bad feeling that she may try to turn your child against you and can communicate and converse. Be wary. She cannot be trusted. Not day home. The fact that she quickly pointed out that she is the one who paid for the wedding makes me believe that this was her plan all along. She absolutely planned to be sneaky about this, or she would have told them who she was bringing ahead of time. It sounds like Mindy lives out of state now, so this required planning. It was not a spur-of-the-moment decision. Why would Mindy have even wanted to attend the wedding of her ex-husband that she moved out of state to get away from? What the actual hell is wrong with both her and mother-in-law? Not day home, and really weird that the ex would even want to be there. Right? I'm confused why the ex bothered coming. Super weird situation all around. I'm guessing mother-in-law was hoping that the ex would show up and her son would be overwhelmed by his love for her and he would send his fiancée away and still hold a ceremony. But with the ex. The ex was in on it too, obviously. Next story. Am I the a-hole for kicking the best man out of my wedding after he disrespected my fiancé? I've been best friends with Jeff since 7th grade. He spent a lot of time at my house because his parents are very strict and religious. He had a cool laid-back mom, and everyone wanted to hang out at my house. Jeff got close to my mom and pretty much lived there unofficially during high school. My mom hates the woman I'm marrying. It's a work in progress, and I have to make a lot of sacrifices to defend my fiancé. Jeff is aware of all the drama that has been going on, and for the most part doesn't offer his opinion, though he has occasionally told me no relationship is worth losing my mom over. My mom and my fiancé got into a huge fight over my mom's dress for the wedding. That issue actually worked itself out because my mom found out she's pregnant, so she couldn't wear the offending dress anyway. And she's very happy about the baby and doesn't care about fighting with my fiancé anymore. Jeff heard about the dress drama from my mom when he was hanging out with my cousin at a family cookout which I did not attend. Then Jeff sent me a text calling my fiancé a controlling, insecure little girl and saying I am an idiot if I would lose my mom over some witch. He admits he had been drinking when he sent it and said he is sorry for calling her a witch, but that his sentiment stands. I did tell my fiancé what he said. I decided I can't have a best man who doesn't support the relationship and who disrespected her. I told Jeff he is still invited, but can't be the best man. He took it all right, but admitted he is worried about our friendship. My mom told me that I'm a horrible friend and becoming a fake person. She said she would never have a best friend she couldn't be honest with, and she wouldn't marry someone who was so sensitive that she had to protect them from words. Our friend group is pretty split 50-50 on this, so I don't know if I overreacted. Not today, Hall. I mean, there is probably a lot more to the story and why your mom and friend don't like your fiancé, but based on the content of your post, your reaction is justified. What was the issue with the dress? Was it white? Just attaching myself to your comment here because I'd love an answer from Opie. Why do I have the feeling that Jeff is your mom's baby daddy? Could it be so? Info. What was the issue with the dress? What are some specific incidents that have come up between your mom and fiancé? Not today, Hall. Your mom sounds nuts. Your fiancé may be a little immature, but definitely not deserving of what your friend said about her. The dress was too sexy. My mom believes in 100% body autonomy 100% of the time and doesn't like clothing very much. Always have to be showing some skin. My fiancé said it was attention stealing and inappropriate for a wedding. The issue started pretty early on. My mom is ice cold and somewhat abrasive and refuses to do normal things like make small talk. My fiancé then insinuated that I must not have gone to Disney as a kid because I had a young single mom. But I grew up well off and we traveled a lot, so my mom didn't like that. Then my mom found out they had the same college degree/major and told my fiancé she wasn't going to make any money. But my fiancé pointed out that my mom makes very good money, but my mom just said she is special and my fiancé doesn't have what it takes. My mom then got a boyfriend and decided she didn't need us and told us how much she hates my fiancé. Then my mom had a surprise wedding without being engaged, and my fiancé thought it was too close to our engagement and called her out. So my mom called her jealous and insecure and said she was mad because her dress cost more than your life. My mom gives a lot of unwanted opinions about what is wrong with our relationship and thinks my fiancé is jealous and controlling because she has some insecurities. And my mom is more along the lines of pointing out women to her husband and talking about threesomes. Then my mom announced she was pregnant at my fiancé's graduation party, obviously on purpose. My fiancé was like, "How are you having a kid? Aren't you 50? Which pissed my mom off because she's 38 and looks a good 10 years younger. So she asked her loudly about if she had gotten a job in the industry yet, knowing she hadn't. Now my mom is bragging about how we have no power over her because she doesn't need our kids because of the baby, and my fiancé feels like my mom is trying to act like it is some do-over family and called her out. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not paying 50% of the rent? I moved in with my boyfriend 4 months ago, and we agreed that I would pay half of the rent and utilities. I'm not on the lease, and the utilities are in my boyfriend's name. We have a 2-bedroom apartment. The second bedroom used as a combo home office for me and music studio for him. Then 3 weeks ago, his brother moved in. I came home from a weekend trip with my sister and found him there. No discussion beforehand. I was pissed. My boyfriend swore it was for a week at most until his brother moved in with a friend. So I spent a week on the living room couch. Well, to no one's surprise, that didn't happen. The friend decided he didn't want the brother to move in, given that the brother doesn't work, doesn't clean up after himself, and is a general jerk. Even my boyfriend admits this about his brother. So I can't say I blame the friend. My boyfriend says he can't kick his brother out when he has no place to go, and begged me to give him a couple of months as I had started packing my things. I reluctantly agreed, and boyfriend ends up moving my desk into the living room, where I have no privacy while I work at his music stuff, into a corner of the bedroom, where we are basically tripping over it so his brother can have a bedroom. I told boyfriend he has 2 months to get his brother out, or I would move out. It gets to the time of the month for me to send money to my boyfriend for bills. I send him 25% of the rent and 33% of the utilities instead of 50% for both. And boyfriend is upset, saying that is not what we agreed on. I told him I also don't agree to live with his brother, and I'm just paying what I feel is fair given that. My thinking is that every apartment I have shared, you pay rent by bedroom and utilities by person. Boyfriend starts freaking out, saying that he can't afford that, and that I agreed to his brother staying. I told him that I agreed to not move out. I did not agree to financially support his brother. He told me that I can't just change our agreement, and I pointed out that he had when he added a third person to the apartment. Boyfriend insists he doesn't have enough money to pay that much, as he's short on money and his old roommates moving out is one of the big reasons I moved in. Boyfriend says that he will end up having to not pay something, and that it will kill his credit when he has been working on rebuilding. He tells me that he is already short because he is having to spend more money on groceries with his brother there, as I flatly refuse to pay for more groceries. Still, I refuse to budge. Boyfriend insists that I'm trying to hurt him financially because I'm angry with him and being petty. I am angry, and I know that I can make bad decisions when I'm mad. However, thinking about it, I don't think I should have to support his brother. Living with 2 other people should cost less than living with 1 other person. However, I'm doubting my own judgment. Am I being petty out of anger? Am I the a-hole for not paying 50% of the rent? Edit. This has come up many times. Why didn't I tell boyfriend ahead of time that I wasn't going to pay 50% as normal? The answer is that I never thought about money until I went to transfer him money for the monthly bills. That was the first time I realized that I would be financially supporting the brother if I kept paying 50%, and I decided I wasn't going to do it. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. As you say, boyfriend changed the rules without asking you. And you were getting less use out of the apartment because you no longer have a home office in a separate room. You have no privacy in the living room when you are working. Your bedroom is cluttered with the music stuff. You have an extra person using the bathroom, taking showers, etc. In every way possible, your enjoyment of your living space has been reduced. Thank you. That is my reasoning as well. It's not just that, Opie. Your boyfriend was only able to afford to move his brother in because you were paying for half. Your boyfriend would not, otherwise have been able to support his brother entirely. So basically, what he's doing is forcing you to support his brother because he can't himself. I think you need to move out, because this is a much deeper problem than just being blind because of family. Your boyfriend has bad credit and is rebuilding, and yet he allows his brother to stay without contributing? And I understand why he has bad credit. He is incapable of making good financial decisions. And is fighting with you over how much you pay for his brother instead of fighting with his a-hole brother over not paying, / not getting a job at a time when jobs are going begging? OP, if you stay with this dude, his family will be your responsibility for life. Not to mention your boyfriend's poor financial decisions. Reconsider. Not the a-hole. That is what I finally realized when I started to transfer money to boyfriend, which is why I changed the amounts to 25% and 33% instead of 50%. I won't let this happen long term. When I said I would move out if the brother didn't leave in 2 months, not 6 weeks, I meant it. Darling, move out now. No, you're not the a-hole. Your boyfriend is forcing you to support his brother. Everywhere is hiring. This is immature bullcrap. Seriously, get out. That's the key. Opie needs to just move. Opie seems capable if she was packing at first. But the boyfriend is both inconsiderate and disrespectful. You don't move extra people in on your girlfriend or roommates. Literally everywhere is hiring. Even if he has to work retail or fast food for a bit, it's something to get back on his feet. Not the a-hole. You breached your agreement the moment to let his brother stay there without even consulting you. Why doesn't brother get a job? There are tons of places hiring, and he can just get his lazy butt out and find one. Because he is lazy. There is nothing physically wrong with him, but he is the youngest child and spoiled rotten. He honestly believes manual labor is beneath him, and he doesn't have the skills to get non-manual jobs. When even his parents got tired of his BS and kicked him out if he didn't get a job, he started couch surfing. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for wanting my boyfriend to come support me at the hospital and then being upset that he didn't? I'm 26 female, I'm currently almost 15 weeks pregnant. Just under 3 weeks ago, I started bleeding fairly heavily while at work and had to go to the ER. I drove myself and called my 24 male boyfriend over and over on the drive to the hospital. It took about 7 calls before he answered because he was playing a video game with his friends. I asked if I could pick him up because our apartment is on the way, but he told me to go straight to the hospital, so I did. Once I got there, I had to stay for a few hours. Our boss, we work at the same place, was worried and called me to check on me and ask if he wanted her to go pick him up and bring him to me. I called him and asked, but he said no because he didn't want to make her do that. I told him she was offering, but he still said no. He stayed on the phone with me for a little bit, but was still playing with his friends and was pretty distracted. My phone ended up dying, and I spent the last 2 hours there alone, terrified I was losing my baby, and being told to stop crying by the nurses because I was going to stress baby out. When they finally discharged me, I had to drive myself home. When I got home, I told him I was upset that he left me alone with no support like that. He argued that he didn't have a way there. I reminded him about our boss offering, and that's when he told me that I was ignoring his fear of hospitals and doctors, and it was unfair that I expected him to just get over it to come sit with me. Then he said the next time he sees a big spider, he's going to push me to it and tell me to get over it. Part of me thinks he should have been there for me and our child, but part of me feels like maybe he's right and I was being inconsiderate of his feelings. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Just be aware he will not change once baby is born. You're gonna be in for a whole lot more poor behavior on his part. He'll be off playing Monster Hunter while she's in labor. Irrelevant, but that was actually the game he was playing while I was in the ER. Monster Hunter literally almost ruined my, very new, marriage. My husband plays tons of video games, but for some reason, that was the one that caused me to stop existing. Husband is not allowed to get the new one, and quite frankly doesn't want it because of that. This is horrific and so sad. The last part about a spider really shows his character. Honestly, he sounds absolutely horrible, and a bad person to be around whilst pregnant. I think you should leave him. Am I the a-hole for causing a woman who bad-mouthed me at work to get fired? I kind of already know what people's answer to this would be, but I'm just asking to make sure. For backstory, I'm a 24 male, born and raised in a fairly small town, surrounded by even smaller towns. People from the surrounding towns come here to get their degrees/diplomas from our local university and college, because their towns don't have good options. My town is big enough to be a hot spot for the surrounding areas, but still small enough that most people know each other. In fact, many families know each other generationally. The situation: I work as an advisor at our local bank branch. About 2 months ago, a 23 female was hired as a clerk. She's from one of the surrounding towns and had just graduated from our local university a few months prior. For the first month, everything went well. She joined our friend circle and there were no issues whatsoever. About a month later, one day after work, she pulled me aside and asked me out on a date. I politely declined and reminded her that I was married. Most of my coworkers and I have known each other since high school, if not earlier. My wife was part of this same circle, and we've been together since we were 15. This topic had come up before, and I always wear my wedding band, so I found it odd that she asked me out, especially since there were other single guys in the office. But I brushed it off and thought that was the end of it. That happened on a Friday. On Monday, halfway through my shift, one of my other coworkers, 24 female, told everyone that the 23 female had claimed I pulled her aside, asked her out, and wouldn't take no for an answer. She also claimed I had started stalking her on Snapchat and Instagram. Here's the thing, my coworkers knew I didn't even have Snapchat or Instagram, and they knew how close my wife and I are, so they realized she was lying. However, there were a couple of coworkers who didn't know me as well and may have believed her. I told my coworkers not to confront her, and instead explained what actually happened. I told them to ignore her lies and just agree with whatever she said because I didn't want to escalate the situation. I figured she was just being childish and didn't know how to handle rejection. The escalation. About 2 weeks later, my dad called and said he needed to speak to me. When I went to my parents' house, he told me that a friend of his, who's a client at the bank, mentioned I had been stalking a girl at work. This client had heard it from the 23 female, who was now looking for another job and asking for his help. I explained the truth to my dad and decided I needed to put a stop to her lies.
The next day, I explained everything to HR. Once I told HR that clients were getting involved, they took the matter seriously and opened an investigation. They interviewed me, my coworkers, and a 23 female. Everyone backed me up, and camera footage showed her pulling me aside, not the other way around. HR confronted her, and she tried to claim I was stalking her by showing them an Instagram account with my face on it. Here's the kicker. The photo she used was the only photo of me on one of my coworkers' profiles. She had created a fake account and sent herself messages to make it seem believable. HR fired her on the spot for spreading malicious rumors and disrupting the work environment. Since she was still in her probationary period, she didn't receive severance or any additional pay. Given the small-town environment, news spread quickly. Her job prospects here are now non-existent. This is why I'm questioning whether I handled it the right way. On one hand, I'm relieved to have cleared my name. But on the other, I wonder if I should have confronted her directly instead of involving HR. Now for the top comments before reading the mini update. She decided to F around and found out, and deserved to be fired, not the a-hole. You also shouldn't feel bad about the backlash she's receiving. If you hadn't defended yourself, her lies could have permanently damaged your reputation in your town. She got what she deserved, and now you don't have to worry about her anymore. Not the a-hole. She actively tried to ruin your life and caused a huge hubbub in your workplace. You tried to ignore her, but she kept pushing. She's a psychopath, and appropriate workplace consequences were meted out. Fafo. You didn't get her fired. She got herself fired. Consider legal options if you think she'll keep bad-mouthing you everywhere. Slander and libel are both against the law, not the a-hole. It's possible that you live in a locality where many people proclaim great fondness for the 10 Commandments and favor displaying them in schools and courthouses. If so, she should be reminded that "thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor" was important enough to make the short list when the Almighty drew up the "these are my rules for you" starter kit. Therefore, her behavior is an offense against the law of humans and of multiple religions. And lies need to stop, and she needs to keep your name out of her mouth and off her keyboard. I don't think she will do it again, at least not to me, but I'll still speak to a lawyer friend of mine. Thank you very much for this advice. Mini update. Thank you everyone for the comments. As I mentioned in the first line of this post, I had a feeling I knew the answer, and all of the comments have reiterated the same, so I'm at peace now. As a lot of comments suggested, if not her, at some point HR would have heard about this and potentially punished me. Thank you all for helping me clear my conscience. I also agree, I should have gone to HR as soon as my coworkers told me the first time. I just gave her the benefit of the doubt. Lesson learned. This was the first time I've dealt with something like this, which is why I needed the advice/clarification. People are asking why the footage are still available weeks later. I'm going to make a wild guess that either those people haven't worked at a bank or they worked at one but did not find out about their footage storage policies. For security reasons, employees will generally not be informed of the exact storage policies. However, when a theft occurred at our branch 2 years ago, I am aware that they were able to pull up footage from 3 months prior. I don't know what kind of banks you guys are used to, but banks store security camera footage longer than most businesses. Each bank and each branch will have their own policies and how long they keep footage. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my best friend if she wasn't always trying to get with my husband, her boyfriend wouldn't have left her? I, 27 female, have been best friends with Kira, 25 female, since we were little. We were neighbors, went to the same school, college, etc. She was my maid of honor when I married Rowan, 28 male, who we went to college with. At first, Kira had a big crush on him, but he started liking me. We slowly got closer, and I started liking him too. This was after Kira had told me she'd gotten over it and was dating another guy. But I still felt really guilty and didn't want to date him if it would hurt Kira. I asked her multiple times if she was okay with it, and she said she was, so I thought it was fine. Kira's been with her current boyfriend Adam, 27 male, for a year or so. However, over the last few months, she's been acting strange around Rowan. Whenever we'd hang out just the three of us, or even with Adam there, she'd always find a way to sit next to Rowan, laugh at everything he said, etc. At first, I didn't think much of it, because I knew that's kind of her personality, and her and Rowan are friends. But then she started always asking me if Rowan would be there before she came over, and if I said no, she'd often suddenly say she couldn't come. Sometimes she wouldn't show up even if I said he was there. Rowan also told me about the comment she made to him once, about how he was so patient for putting up with me being too tired to do anything with him now that I was pregnant, which I thought was weird. The odd behavior continued, but to be honest, the pregnancy has been keeping me too exhausted to dwell on it. Rowan seemed as friendly with Kira as always, but 2 days ago, our mutual friend Shay threw a dinner party. Rowan and I went, as did Kira and Adam. Kira got a bit tipsy, and she kept trying to sit with Rowan and touch him. He excused himself a few times, but she kept finding him. I tried to get her to back off a few times, and I was getting mad because this was crossing a line. She started slurring about how I stole Rowan from her. Thankfully, Adam was too busy talking to Shay's husband to hear this, but he definitely saw Kira's actions. The next afternoon, I was at Shay's again with some friends when Kira showed up. She was crying because Adam had broken up with her that day, saying he didn't think they were going to work out. Everyone was consoling her, but I was just kind of sitting there. I couldn't help but feel like she brought this upon herself. She asked me, "Aren't you going to say something?" So I said, maybe Adam wouldn't have left you if you weren't trying to get with Rowan all the time. Some of our other friends were shocked to hear this and got mad at Kira. Others were angry with me, saying Kira was just really friendly with everyone and that was a horrible accusation to make. Kira was upset, saying she couldn't believe I thought that of her and maybe we really weren't that close. She left in tears, and I left soon after too. Now I don't know. Maybe I was wrong? Kira had been drinking at the dinner party and might not have meant what she said, and the other stuff could have been nothing. Maybe this was too harsh to say to her after a breakup, and we could have talked privately, not in front of our friends. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Well, not entirely. Yes, it was kind of rude to say that after she had been dumped, but she'd been acting this way for a long time, to the point where even Rowan was uncomfortable, but she still persisted. Getting drunk didn't help, and I bet Adam did hear her say you stole Rowan from her. From my point of view, she's clearly been jealous this whole time. She hasn't moved on and has only tried to get closer. Rowan also brought up that weird comment she made about you being too tired to do anything. That's not a normal thing to say to your best friend's husband, even as a joke. It's messed up, not the a-hole. I don't know what the rules are in relationships, and they are probably different for every couple, but at a certain point, should he have shut it down himself? Kira's trying to sleep with your husband. She's not your friend at all. You are not the a-hole for saying that, but you are the a-hole for allowing her to make your husband uncomfortable by sexually harassing him. If one of your female friends told you that another friend's husband was constantly touching her, flirting with her, and making personal comments about her sex life, what would you say? Start standing up for your husband. Yes, she was letting her husband be sexually harassed. She's the a-hole for that. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not recalling my dog when she chased my neighbors off of my property? I, 30 female, have 4 dogs, but the one this story is about is a 4-year-old Rottweiler named Bella. A few months ago, new renters moved next door, and things have been unpleasant to say the least. The neighbors are always screaming and fighting late into the night, and the men in the home have a habit of always trying to talk to me, or just watching me when I'm outside. This is not done in a friendly way, and it has made me feel very uncomfortable. I'm a single woman living alone, and our police force isn't the best. So I just keep my head down, hoping they'll move out soon. The other night, around 11 p.m., I was outside with my dogs in the backyard. My neighbors have a chain-link fence, but I have no fence along my property except for the part that separates their property from mine. One of my dogs was on a leash, but the other 3 are completely trained off-leash and do not leave the yard. I know some people may not agree with that, but I live in the countryside, and also my dogs have never run off. One of the women who lives next door, for some reason, decided to enter my yard because she wanted to just play with my puppies. Bella growled and walked closer to me, and I asked the woman to please leave. But she just kept telling me it was fine and ignored what I was saying. One of the men decided to join her, and they came further onto my property, which led to Bella barking. After a few moments of them continuing, Bella chased after them. She stopped running the second she hit the property line and went inside with me immediately after. Now these neighbors keep making comments about not feeling safe with their kids and saying I should have called my dog back because they weren't a threat. I don't feel like I did anything wrong, but I also don't want the area to think my dogs are dangerous, especially with the stigma against Rottweilers. I also don't want to stir up unnecessary drama when it's already difficult living next to these people. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before the mini update. Not the a-hole. The neighbor came onto your property without permission and thought she could just pet your dogs. Bella had every right to chase someone who wasn't invited off. If you're worried about your neighbors, get cameras and place them in front and backyard. Cameras are in the plan, but I'm paycheck to paycheck right now, unfortunately. If you're between paychecks, you can still document any harassment and interactions. Write down any incidents and date them, including anything that happens with your dogs. Inspect your front and backyard for anything that's different. Make sure you date everything. Not the a-hole. Your neighbors need to stay in their own yard. That was my thought process when it was happening, but I know that things can be different depending on the breed of the dog. I know for a fact Bella wouldn't have hurt them unless they had tried to hurt me, but I didn't know if that mattered or not. Mini update. Thanks everyone for the advice. I've called a friend who has agreed to come over tonight, and he will crash in my spare room until I feel safe. I'm going to contact the police tomorrow and make a report, as well as get a runner and a cheap camera as soon as I get paid. I'll update if anything changes, but I hope you all have a fantastic night, and thank you for the advice. Last story. Am I the a-hole for declining to invite a woman who has called herself a total klepto into my home? I, 30 female, joined a women's social club 6 months ago because I've been struggling to make friends after relocating to a new city. It took me a while to warm up to the group and connect with people I actually had things in common with. I had to wade through a lot of Botox parties and boozy brunches to find activities that interested me. But eventually I did, and I started attending group events fairly often. I spent most of my time with the women who enjoy reading, doing crafts, baking, sky watching, etc. Among these women is one whom I'll call Andrea, who has repeatedly made comments about being a total klepto. I think she says this to seem cool to others in the group. I reached out to some of the women I see regularly at these events and invited them over to my place to watch a TV show we'd been discussing and do crafts. They were excited and agreed to come. Unfortunately, Andrea found out, presumably because someone asked her if she was going and reached out to ask if she was invited. I thought about it for a bit and then told her no, explaining that I only had so much space at home. She didn't believe me and pressed me for the real reason, saying I thought we got along, which, yes, is true. I told her I wasn't comfortable inviting a self-proclaimed kleptomaniac into my home. I explained that I've worked hard for what I have, and it wouldn't make sense to knowingly invite someone who brags about stealing. She replied quietly, okay, and then added, "You're painting me out to be some horrible criminal when you don't even know anything about me." I told her that her being proud to call herself a klepto was all I needed to know. She responded by calling me a high school mean girl and ableist. I have no idea where that came from. Unfortunately, this situation has spilled over into the group, which is frustrating. But what surprises me the most is that so many people are defending her and telling me I'm out of touch and take things too literally. Am I? Not the a-hole. Being a thief isn't the same as being a kleptomaniac or a klepto. One of the key factors in diagnosing kleptomania, a legitimate and rare mental health disorder, is the emotional roller coaster around theft. A kleptomaniac experiences intense shame and wouldn't casually tell strangers they've stolen something. Andrea is the ableist one here, for using kleptomania as an excuse to justify her poor behavior. I know some people say things like, I'm being so OCD, when they just mean they're being fastidious. I'm not well versed in kleptomania, but I thought her comments might have been along those lines. It probably was, but it still makes her the ableist, not you. She's not a klepto. She's a thief, and a proud one at that. She's also rude. When you said there wasn't enough room, she should have accepted that answer. She isn't owed entry to your property. Not the a-hole. I had a girl in my sorority described herself as a self-diagnosed klepto who just couldn't help herself when she saw something she liked, whether it was in a store, on campus, or something another person owned. Once she took something, she considered it her property, and heaven forbid you try to get it back. I refused to associate with her outside of required meetings. I never let her near my purse, my dorm, or my car. She cried and called me a bully. People like this always play the victim. I'm glad you're keeping your boundaries.